Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship station, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. You can find Civic Center TV on Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T Channel 99, where you'll also find us live Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. on Birmingham Area Municipal Access in the Birmingham Bloomfield area and on City Cable 15 in Southfield. Join us also live on our regular shows in Waterford on the Media Network of Waterford on Channel 10 and live to tape on Channel 10 at 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. on Orion Neighborhood Television. Find us on the web on Facebook at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, as well as on our website at civiccentertv.com. And on My Michigan TV's website as well, mymytv.com, where you can watch us on their website and can also watch us on their free smartphone and smart TV apps, where you can learn more information about all of that on their website, mymytv.com, mymytv.com, or go to our website at civiccentertv.com. Click on our Megacast link, and there we have links to every single one of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets that join us every single day on the program, live and live to tape, so you can learn more information about those outlets, including My Michigan TV, and learn more information as well about where you can find all of our episodes, all of our full interviews on demand also. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Right next door to that on our website is our coronavirus page, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where at the top of that page we have links that will send you directly to the COVID-19 specific web pages for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, so you can stay up to date on COVID-19. Keep yourself informed from direct resources on the front lines of this pandemic that have experts have been doing the research on COVID-19 since well before March of 2020, when it reached pandemic proportions all across the world. They've been keeping up to date on COVID-19, on new information, including new variants, including precautionary tactics that you may be needing to employ in different parts of your life, depending on where you're at or what circumstances you're under. Quarantine procedures as well, as that has changed throughout the pandemic. And of course, information on vaccines and booster shots, so you can protect yourself from severe cases of COVID-19. All of those links right at the top of our page, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. And just below that, a little bit further down the page, we scour news outlets from across the state of Michigan, publications that are keeping you informed on all the top headlines making news across the Great Lakes state, both on the COVID-19 front and beyond. Today, our top story from our friends at the Detroit News, giving an update on COVID-19 metrics across the state of Michigan, as Michigan added 2,105 cases and 233 deaths from COVID-19 over the past 2 days. And that's all from state-reported data that, of course, came in on Wednesday, one of 3 reporting days each week. The state reported an average of 1,052 cases per day over those past 2 days. Of Wednesday's tallied deaths, 207 were identified during a vital records review, according to the state health department. If a death certificate is matched to a confirmed COVID-19 case and the record in the state system does not indicate that the individual died, the record is updated during a records review that's conducted twice per week. Wednesday's additions bring the state's average total Wednesday's additions bring the state's total overall cases, not the average, the overall cases, to 2,058,856 confirmed cases and 32,050 deaths since the virus was first detected in Michigan in March of 2020. Hospitalization rates and case counts in Michigan have also been on the decline for 7 weeks steady, indicating that some health experts that the fourth surge is subsiding as predicted. The latest figures come as as the state and several counties have relaxed or intend to curtail regulations to stem the spread of the virus. State employees in standard office and outdoor settings are generally no longer required to wear masks while working, effective on Thursday, or today. Wayne County lifted its emergency mask order for K-12 schools earlier in February as well. The county's decision came after the state health department dropped public health advisories regarding mask usage in most indoor public settings and K-12 12 schools. Health departments in Washtenaw and Oakland counties also lifted their COVID-19 orders related to K-12 schools at the end of February. On Wednesday, the state reported 1,004 adults and 26 pediatric patients hospitalized with confirmed infections of COVID-19, and 81% of the state's inpatient beds were occupied. In a steep decline from records set on January 10th, when 4,580 adults were hospitalized with COVID-19. About 6% of the state's hospital beds were filled with COVID-19 patients, and there were an average of 1,097 emergency room visits related to COVID-19 per day in the state as of Friday of last week. That compares to 24% of hospital beds full and 2,889 daily emergency room visits due to the virus in the first week of January. Case counts continue to drop from early January, when the state saw a new high watermark with 20,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 per day. Coming off the highest numbers of the entire pandemic, all of Michigan's regions are experiencing declines in case rates and hospitalizations, the state health department noted earlier on this month. 3 medical teams from the Department of Defense remain in Michigan at Covenant, Saginaw, Henry Ford, Wyandotte, and the Lansing-based Sparrow Health System. In Michigan, variants of the virus have moved at a high rate, proving more contagious than past variants and infecting both unvaccinated and vaccinated residents. The state, as of Friday, confirmed 5,000 cases of the Omicron variant and 31,000 cases of the Delta variant by genetic sequencing at the Michigan Bureau of Laboratories in Lansing. The majority of those cases are in southeastern Michigan. Although the small percentage of tests are selected for genetic sequencing, health officials believe roughly 95% of COVID-19 cases in the country are caused by the Omicron variant. That is according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The percentage of COVID-19 tests returning positive in Michigan is also on the decline. Minnesota and Indiana have the highest case rates in the Midwest. California and Texas have the highest case rates in the entire country. Between February 21st and 27th, about 7.2% of Michigan's COVID tests returned positive. That is down 0.5% from a week previous. There's also an average of 12,625 weekly cases currently in the state of Michigan. Residents 30 to 39 years old currently have the highest case rate of any age group. As of Monday, 50 new outbreaks were reported than the prior week. The majority, 30 outbreaks, were tallied in long-term care facilities and senior-assisted living centers. Another 17 outbreaks occurred in K-12 schools, 2 at child daycare or sports programs, and 5 in jails or detention centers. The state is tracking 782 ongoing cases. Outbreak cases. About 65% or 6.5 million residents have received their first dose of a vaccine. As of Tuesday, 59% are fully vaccinated. More than 221,000 children ages 5 to 11 in Michigan, or 27%, have received their first dose of the vaccine. More than 2.9 million vaccine booster doses have also been administered here in Michigan. Approximately 2% of those fully vaccinated have been reported with a breakthrough infection, according to the state's health department. That full article from the Detroit News on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Also making headlines in the state legislature, Michigan may soon restrict withdrawals for bottled water like Nestle. This is from Bridge, Michigan. The state legislature may soon look at a package of bills that would change how the state protects groundwater. However, the goal of the bills and the legal tool that the sponsors want to use might be at odds. Do you remember when Nestle applied to increase the amount of groundwater it was pulling from near Evart, Michigan? Nearly 81,000 people asked the state to turn down the request. Only 75 indicated that they supported it. But despite overwhelming opposition, the state approved the permit in 2019. It said it had to under the law. A lot of people were outraged. Since then, the environmental groups have been trying to change the law. Quote, "The problem with the whole water bottling system is that we're simply taking the public resource and turning it into a commodity. And if we walk too far down that road, we wind up in a place where water is only available for those who can afford it," said Sean McBurty with the Clean Water Action Group. He's working with legislatures to find a way to restrict groundwater withdrawals for bottled water. Democratic Representative Yusuf Rabi is one of the sponsors working on the draft of the legislation. Quote, right now, the Great Lakes Compact protects the Great Lakes from water withdrawal, so a state like Arizona couldn't come and hook a pipe up to Lake Michigan and start pumping. But as long as the water is bottled and in some small containers, there is no prohibition on the amount of water that can be taken out of the Great Lakes, said Representative Robbie. Once they're drafted, the package of bills would do a couple of things. One, it would target companies that bottle water, and it would expand the public trust doctrine. That doctrine says that the state holds resource in trust for the people. It must protect those natural resources. The doctrine already covers surface water such as streams and lakes. However, it currently does not protect groundwater. Lawmakers killed the idea of it protecting groundwater back in 2006. That's when Michigan was putting together state laws to comply with the Great Lakes Compact. The intention at the time was to include groundwater under the public trust doctrine protection. Bob Wilson was counsel for the Senate Natural Resources Committee at the time. He says the idea was that water, whether underground or on the surface, is one big hydrological system. Quote, because the public trust doctrine extends to the bottomlands of the Great Lakes and surface water, it should also extend to the groundwater, in closed quote, he said. But there were powerful groups who didn't want the state regulating groundwater. Big businesses, including farms and manufacturers, said no. They did not want government regulations on the amount of groundwater they used. They also understood that, quote, it imposes a duty to the state to protect the resource, not just to enable the state the option of doing so, said Michael Blum, a law professor at Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon, who's written extensively on public trust doctrine issues. If the state does not protect resources, citizens can take the issue to the courts. Bob Wilson, the longtime advisor to the Michigan Senate, said it's a good move to expand the public trust doctrine to include groundwater. He thinks, though, it's a mistake to single out water bottlers only for this regulation. He said whether it's bottled water, beer, irrigation, crops, or manufacturing, every kind of groundwater withdrawal should be treated the same. Quote, you need to regulate and take a look at the withdrawal of the water simply for the impact itself on our natural resources. It shouldn't matter the end users of the water. It shouldn't matter at all, end closed quote. Still, it's hard for politicians to ignore the people's outrage about bottled water. Think back to those 81,000 public comments protesting Nestle's water withdrawal plans. Representative Robbie says people want something done about it, and saying, quote, this legislation is to say, look, it's not okay for a company to come to Michigan, pump out our groundwater, put a price tag on it, and make a profit. That's not okay, end closed quote. 2 years after it won its permit to pump more groundwater in West Michigan, Nestle sold its water bottling operation to a different company, Blue Triton. Later that year, Blue Triton announced it would not take advantage of the permit after all. When asked for comment for the story, the company responded, quote, Blue Triton Brands is not in a position to comment on the legislation at this time, as it has not been introduced and made public, end closed quote. The legislation is expected to be introduced sometime in the middle of this month. Read more on that legislation by visiting our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, clicking on this article, and visiting the supporting materials also provided by our friends at Bridge, Michigan, who authored that article. Lastly, making headlines, some good news for those of you who are sick and tired of this daggone cold outside. A 60-degree day is likely coming for some in Michigan very soon. A storm system is heading our way, according to MLive. Southern Michigan could have a really spring-like period in the dry stretch in the middle of this storm. We're now transitioning from entirely winter-like storms to storms that pull some spring weather from the south. The track of the low-pressure center makes all the difference in staying on the cold, snowy side of the storm or getting into the warmer sector on the south side of the storm system. The next storm will put at least the southern half of lower Michigan in the warm sector for about 24 hours. So really soak that 24 hours in, because then we're right back where we are. Saturday should also have some dry conditions in the afternoon across southern lower Michigan. Here's the forecast of the coming storm system. Focus at least once on the track of the storm center by looking at the smallest inner closed circle of the dark pressure lines on the maps that are provided by MLive in this article. The storm center is going to track across the Straits of Mackinac region by the second half of Saturday afternoon. Areas from Saginaw Bay City and Grand Rapids and southward will be in the dry, warmer sector of the storm. Here's what the two best models say for temperature forecast on Saturday afternoon. The European model is usually pretty close at 3 days out. The U.S. model is often a few degrees too cold at this far out of a time. The author of this article says they would say anywhere from Grand Rapids to Flint and southward should make it to 60 degrees late Saturday afternoon. Kalamazoo, Lansing, and Jackson should easily warm into the 60s on Saturday as well. The warmth should hang on into Sunday morning, although it will come with some rain on Sunday. By Sunday morning, the 60-degree warmth should finally make its way into southeast lower Michigan. The whole Detroit area and Ann Arbor area also should have spring-like temperatures on Sunday morning. This will be the first 60-degree day in the Detroit area since December 11th of last year. This full article from MLive, as well as all of our articles from across the state of Michigan making headlines today on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. In addition to those helpful links at the top of the page from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the MDHHS here in the state of Michigan, and locally from the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great program ahead of you today. Coming up next, we'll speak with therapist Carrie Krawiec from the Birmingham Maple Clinic. That's coming up at 10:20. At 10:40, Michael Fournier, the mayor of Royal Oak, will join us by telephone. At 11 o'clock, the executive director of figure skating in Detroit, Lori Ward, will join us as Saturday during the last weekend for skating at the rink at Campus Martius. They will be holding a special event called Skating with the Stars. At 11:20, Dave Dulio, our favorite political science professor at Oakland University, also the director of the Center for Civic Engagement, will join us on the program. And then at 11:40, Dawn Coleman, the executive director of the ARC of Oakland County, a shared Detroit-supported charity and nonprofit, will join us to cap off this edition of the Megacast. That's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, How your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Learn more about the program by visiting our website, civiccentertv.com, and clicking on our Megacast link, where you'll learn more information about every one of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets, and find all of our full episodes and each individual interview on demand. civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Joining us now is Carrie Krawiec, a therapist at the Birmingham Maple Clinic, back with us once again on the Oakland County Megacast. Carrie, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning.
Appreciate having you on. Good morning to you as well. So, parents, we'll start with parenting. Parents love to encourage their kids to go out and have their own little adventures, explore, kind of be creative outside of the home, get away from those video games and technology, and explore the outside world. Often when they're doing that, they send their kids out to some sort of activity or just to play outside, and they'll say the words, "Be careful." You are in the school of thought that "be careful" may not actually be a very helpful phrase to be telling these kids when they are going out and doing these various things. Let's talk about that. Start off with why, what the flaws are with "be careful" and what is a better approach to encouraging safety for your kids.
Sure, absolutely. So first of all, I'm a totally guilty offender. I have a 7.5-year-old and a 4-year-old, so I say be careful probably 1,000 times a day. But the problem with it, especially at different ages, like for example, the kids as young as mine, is that be careful is very vague. It doesn't really give them an idea of what you want them to do. It gives them no roadmap. So maybe an older child might know what you mean when you say be careful, but a younger child would need a specific direction, like hold hands, look both ways, slow down, use walking feet. A younger child would need a very specific direction of what you want to do with what part of their body to understand what you mean. The other thing that's wrong with be careful is that it sort of implies everything is dangerous. And it also kind of requires your kid to have you there to kind of oversee. And in some ways, you might be over assessing their risk, and they may not either not trust you, like that you know what's going on, which would be the worst case scenario. If you say, oh, those monkey bars are dangerous, and there's 16 kids on the monkey bars, they're going to start to trust other kids over you. But also you want the opportunity. I think the most important thing as parents is you want the opportunity to congratulate your kids for their choices, to boost their esteem. So a better way would be to say, wow, like this morning, it's very slick outside this morning, to say, whoa, look at this driveway. It's so icy. What is your plan to get from here to the car? And see if they can give you some ideas. I'm going to hold on. I'm going to walk slow. I'm going to, walk on the grass. And then you get to say, wow, brilliant idea. You're really thinking. I love the way your mind works. And that's the kind of stuff that boosts your kids' esteem and makes them more likely to use it on their own the next time.
It's great for younger kids, that method, too, because they're still so plastic. They're able to then develop some creativity and some independent thought and think ahead on certain things that may be a hazard to them from an early age. For those that are older children that are in their late tween years or in their teen years, they've been hearing their parents say be careful for so long. What are some of the flaws in that directive to them, especially given that they have developed a greater sense of independence by that point in their life?
Sure. Well, so I think, right, like by that time, you're probably going to get a kid go, Mom, like, I know. So like, right, it'll feel to them kind of juvenile and like you don't trust them. And like that you don't have confidence or in their competence. And so I think to start kind of, you can do the same way, like, and even take ownership. God, like as my instinct as mom, I want to say be careful, but I trust that you're going to be careful. But why don't you tell me what you're going to do to be careful? And I know you got it, but like, just let me know what you got and have a little, and then you avoid the argument about it. And instead they're informing you of what's going to go on in their life.
And so other just general words or phrases, you mentioned that specificity would be a better way to address encouraging being careful for a parent to their child. But are there other general phrases that will maybe take a child in a different direction without, especially an older child that has heard "be careful" their entire life, without seeming like I don't trust you or I don't think you have the capacity to make smart decisions?
Sure. So I think always with kids, like we said, to be specific, behavioral, to also, as often as you can, avoid stop directions or negative directions and instead start directions. So what do you want your child to do? It's helpful for the child because, like I said, it gives them a roadmap so they know what your expectation is. But it's helpful for you because you can catch it. It's you say stop running or, stop doing that or whatever it is. And then you don't always stop and say, wow, that was great listening. But if you give them a start direction, it offers you the opportunity to see it in play and catch it. Like, wow, I saw you do exactly what I told you to. That was great. So it's good to also, rewarding for parents to recognize that, our kids really are listening to us. It's very easy to think of all the times they ignored what we said. And it helps us to kind of say, wow, I said this and they did this. Like, that's a win-win.
We're joined by Carrie Krawiec. She is a therapist at the Birmingham Maple Clinic, joining us on the Megacast. Carrie, of course, as we've talked about so many times before, there continues to be an impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on children, on families, on individuals. As we're starting to see things really take a more positive turn toward us maybe being able to put COVID-19 in the rearview mirror, we're seeing the mask mandates sort of go away, those mask requirements in certain businesses, suggestions from government agencies and public health agencies start to dwindle away. That sort of stark transition from where we were just a few weeks ago, where we were near it, where we were still at the peak of a major surge, the largest surge of cases of COVID-19 statewide and really across the nation since the onset of the pandemic. How can that sort of a transition, kind of that stark transition between in the thick of a surge to now it looks like this may be the end of things, that coming out of this pandemic is going to be just as complicated psychologically, I would imagine, as it was going into it and making all those various changes. How should we be approaching that as individuals and then as people that are interacting with others and are interacting with their families to help each other along?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you really touched the base. Although it feels stark in many ways, and maybe for others it's felt gradual, this change, but that, each person, I really think is offering grace to yourself and grace to the rest of your members of your household or your community, patience that, not everybody's going to have the same amount of readiness to every situation. Even looking at the kids this week, this is their first week with no masks in their little educational careers. And, some are thrilled, some are uncertain, some are still anxious about the potential of infection. And so just recognizing to really, of course, coaching your kids not to, tease or confront other students who maybe have a different position than them or their households have a different position than them. But to also within your household, really accept and respect each person's readiness to do each sort of level of things, whether, we're talking about spring break coming up. Some families will be on their airplanes for the first time in 3 or more years. And, just being patient that there is going to be anxiety, there is going to be uncertainty. That would all be normal. That keeping in mind, we want to think about intensity, frequency, and duration. So as we pass through time, if anxiety gets lower, it's not as strong, it doesn't last as long, that's a good thing. If we stay at a heightened anxiety despite everybody else kind of moving on and things seemingly fine, then that would be cause for concern.
We're joined by Carrie Krawiec from the Birmingham Maple Clinic, joining us on the Megacast. As we're approaching that too, with kids, you mentioned the kids that are going back into school with masks off for the first time. For many of them that either started kindergarten or were in the early years of their schooling when the pandemic began. Now they're going back into but they're also going back into other areas of their life as well. And this is all that they've known so far, really, in their youth is COVID-19, or at least in their schooling age. How should parents be approaching explaining to them what may be even more confusing for a child coming out of a pandemic where this is a crisis, this is how life has been normal, but that's not how normal really ever was, and now we're going away from that?
Sure. Again, I don't know that I think it would be tailored to each kid at each age or stage, but I think For one, I mean, I just think of people I've talked to personally or professionally, something that's coming up, especially like you said, for those youngest ones that perhaps didn't have preschool or daycare in their early part of their life, were kind of thrust into full-time school at this stage, but had been kind of insulated by their family for 2 years, where maybe, you know, everybody kind of gets their quirks and they get the rules. You know, now they're in a school situation where the rules are changing, the expectations are changing, and it feels exceptionally overwhelming. So, you know, the little kindergartners and first graders, they're like, yeah, really taking on a lot of what's expected of me now. And wouldn't it be a lot easier if I just stayed home? Because that seemed to make a lot more sense to me. So again, just really being patient, working on, like, what are their strategies? How can they calm themselves? Who can they ask for help if they need them? What kinds of things can they maybe think about in their mind, remind themselves, you know, that they are able to get through these days. At different ages and stages, like I said, it would be different. I think it would just be normal to feel uncomfortable, but that also, you know, I think also educating everybody, not in our families and our households, that it's okay to feel uncomfortable. And actually, it's even okay to feel a little bit stressed. Like, we're human beings. We were meant to do great things, and it wasn't meant to just be easy and comfortable all the time. And in fact, it's the best for us to challenge ourselves a little bit. So be that kind of attitude of positivity to say, I know you can do it. I know we all can do it, and we can do hard things.
We're joined by therapist Carrie Krawiec from the Birmingham Maple Clinic on the Megacast. Carrie, just another couple of minutes with you, and so I wanted to ask, because of course with COVID-19, we've been seeing crisis after crisis after crisis within this crisis that have been reported on, that have been in the news, that have been all the discussion on the town. And it's kind of in a similar sense with the crisis overseas in Ukraine. We're seeing a lot of different talks about the way that our country and the United States is involved, our allies are involved. It seems to be this worldwide pressure cooker that everyone's looking out on, and that can cause a lot of anxiety for people all across the world in various situations, as they're looking at that and considering what role they or their country may be playing in that going forward. What suggestion do you have for people to kind of decompress themselves from that pressure without ignoring the worldwide implications that crises like the Russian invasion of Ukraine obviously have?
Sure. I mean, I think when you and I talked last, we kind of talked about this. During the pandemic, we were told about viral load, which was the amount of infection, the amount of symptoms, the amount of problems we got was directly related to how much disease we were presented with. And I think the same philosophy goes with the information that we take in. So yeah, once upon a time in a war many, many moons ago, you wouldn't have heard about it unless via postcard 30 days later. But now we get information constantly. We talk about it. We hear it on our news. We get it on our phones. We get it on our iWatches. Like, we get information all the time. The sheer volume of information impacts how much it affects us. So now some of us are more resilient to it than others. We've been talking about kids this morning. Kids are going to have either in some ways their own resiliency. It's going to fly right over their head and they're not going to understand it at all. For other kids, they're just going to soak it up and see the world as a scary place. I mean, I think the best thing that families can do is really restrict the kind of information they're getting, the sources of information they're getting, and even the need to get it constantly. That, like, perhaps prescribing a time a day to scan the news and have that be sort of very, predictable and routine, and perhaps even cushion it in, before or after something more calming or soothing. I think returning to, of course, more time, like we said, more time outdoors, taking walks in nature, reading, doing creative endeavors. Those are the things that really insulate and protect us from the stress of just consuming information that seems dark, dreary, and bleak.
Carrie, we appreciate your time. Anything else at this moment that parents or individuals should be considering with everything else that's going on, or any other tips at this moment in time to protect our mental health throughout our community?
I think you had mentioned some days soon we'll have a 60-degree day. Like I said, get outside, take a walk, enjoy some nature. Those are really such a factor for resiliency, for mindfulness, for meditative experience, which really help us throughout our entire lifetime.
Carrie, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We've been joined by therapist Carrie Krawiec from the Birmingham Maple Clinic on the Megacast. Big thank you to her for joining us today. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we will go over to the city of Royal Oak and we'll speak by phone with their mayor, Michael Fournier, about special projects in the city, including their upcoming road diet project. That's all coming up next. You are watching and listening to the Megacast.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and then they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
"211, how can I help you?"
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Joining us now by telephone is the mayor of Royal Oak, Michael Fournier, with us on the Megacast. Mayor, thank you for being with us today.
Hey, my pleasure, Tyler. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So, an apartment development was okayed by was okayed at a former contaminated site in Royal Oak. It was a 32-unit apartment building that will be built on that site at Harrison and Delaware. Can you tell us about that project, how it came to be, and what Royal Oak residents can expect when they see the final product of this building in their city?
Yeah. I think a little bit of historical context on this area. I mean, decades ago, this was a heavy industrial use area. Exactly what most of your listeners are envisioning in their mind. You know, lots of pollution, lots of brownfield redevelopment that needed to occur to make these properties viable. Over the years, we've really transitioned that part of town into what we'll call multifamily, which is more like your industrial lofts and your higher density, replacing that industrial properties with higher density projects. You've seen the Harrison go up there, some beautiful buildings. And this one is just part of the sequence that we see of folks coming in to invest in Royal Oak and really take advantage of this opportunity. You know, the site was contaminated. I think they said they removed 20,000 tons of soil from there. Cost the developer cost over $1 million to get all that out. And now, this proposal came to us, and it's really kind of cool because not only does it take a site and repurpose it for the growing demand of housing in Royal Oak, but it also takes care of an environmental issue. It has a green roof. It's managing stormwater way better than the site is today. And one of the conditions we put in there, too, was to have a couple of units there for veteran transition housing and attainable housing. And so, we need to meet the demands here in Royal Oak for people of all backgrounds and incomes. And that was another win for our community here with this project. So, I'm hopeful the developer, construction costs are crazy and everything's going on in the industry, but, he got the green light, and we look forward to the project coming to town.
We're joined by Michael Fournier, the mayor of the city of Royal Oak, joining us on the Megacast. And so with any big project like this, especially when it's going to be 32 units, a lot of new people may be moving into the city, or people may be moving about the city to a more concentrated area. With that, in any community, you typically will see quite a lot of objection or concerns that are expressed. What were some of those concerns, and then how are those addressed by both the city and the developer in finalizing the project plans for this particular unit?
Yeah, I think change is hard. And whenever there's change, I think, rightfully so, neighbors and commissioners and mayors should ask, tough questions to understand, okay, here are all the positives that come with the project. Well, what are some of the downsides that we either have to accept for those positives, or that we can mitigate, through, smart planning, et cetera. You're talking 32 units. We have, when you think about how that property was used in the past as I think it was some sort of oil company. You had trucks going in and out of there all day. We've mitigated the truck traffic in that part of the neighborhood significantly. Our roads are designed to handle thousands of vehicles. And so I think when people think, 32 cars, coming in and out, that sounds like a lot, but in reality, you're not going to notice it, hardly at all. So the roads in that area are designed and they're planned to handle traffic, and I think that people just need to understand that, while there might be a slight increase, it's negligible in most of these cases, especially when you weigh it against all the environmental benefits we get and all the welcoming of new neighbors into our community, and how it lifts up property values in the area significantly, transitioning from industrial to residential.
And so, Mayor, you mentioned some of the concerns and the addressing of particularly the traffic issue with having so many units in one location, and people and a change in the traffic dynamics of the city. That also connects to another issue, which is the road diet in Royal Oak. That's a term that we've seen popping up here and there. It's kind of a new buzzword in construction and in city planning, and certainly in traffic control. You have a new road diet that's being applied to road construction in one of the busiest thoroughfares in the city at Rochester Road. Can you tell us about this road diet plan and how it intends to improve the traffic conditions in the city of Royal Oak?
Yeah, great question. I hate the word or the term road diet. If I were a branding person, I'd call it something a little different than its physical characteristics. If I came to you and I said, hey, look, there's an opportunity to redesign our roads that make it safer for pedestrians, make it safer for motorists, and make our neighborhoods more prosperous, and we can do that with minimal inconvenience or negligible inconvenience to drivers. Would you take me up on that deal? And I think most people would say yes. And so when we've had experience with this on Main Street, doing traffic calming, and, I can tell you firsthand, I'm up there driving to the high school every single day with my kids. I have a daughter in the high school, and I got kids that play sports, and from lacrosse to swimming to soccer, we're up and down Main Street during rush hour. I have not noticed a difference in our transit time whatsoever, even during the rush hours. Traffic is slower, but it doesn't mean that we're getting to our destination at any length or longer time. So with Rochester, we had our engineers go out, bring in special consultation, really study it inside and out. And all the data, all the science, everything concludes that we can actually make this road safer, reduce crashes. We can make it safer for pedestrians to cross. We have a very walkable city here. We have kids going back and forth from schools or crossing Rochester, a 4-lane highway. It can be challenging sometimes. And we can also, take some of that pavement and put it back to green space, which, significantly reduces stormwater runoff, which is a big concern in Royal Oak. So we're talking about reducing the chances of basement water backups in the surrounding neighborhood. And so we get all these benefits, and what do we see? Well, we see that, at certain times of day, there might be a few seconds delay here and there, but if we retime the traffic lights, there should be, no negative impact to motorists getting to where they need to go, and they get there safer, and the pedestrians are safer, and our neighborhoods are more enjoyable. So I'm pretty happy about what we're going to do on Rochester Road. We had a lot of folks voice their thoughts, opinions, and concerns, and we took those seriously. And we asked those tough questions to our engineer, and we said, show us, like, hey, is there going to be cut-through traffic? The answer is no. Is there going to be, big backups and everything? The answer is no. And they had, I can't remember how many hundreds of pages of the study that there were, but it showed that, this is a good thing for the city. So those concerns, we share them, we ask the questions, and then we have to make a decision based on facts, and that's what we did. And we think this is going to be a win for everybody.
We're joined by Michael Fournier, the mayor of the city of Royal Oak, joining us on the Megacast. And so with this proposal in place, with the plans that are in place for this quote-unquote road diet in Royal Oak, how long would some of these repairs, some of these changes, this refocusing of that thoroughfare take? Yeah,
we're going to start in 2023. It shouldn't take, hopefully during that construction season, we'll be able to complete it. And yeah, there will be inconveniences, when we start it and finish it with any sort of construction. But, we govern based on, the next generation, not just, the next month. So, yep, there's a period where it's going to be, a little challenging with construction, like we see on any road that needs to be repaired and upgraded. And by the way, Rochester road diet or not, would also be going under construction anyhow. We have the I-75 construction that has been, pretty painful for a lot of folks in this area. And so that will be around the same time, but nothing unmanageable. And so we'll have a few months there where things are a little tough, but I think the outcome of it, is going to be, all the benefits we get from it are just going to be well worth the patience of construction. And in the long term, because we have less road, we have less maintenance costs, we can plow the road quicker. There's a lot of other benefits just above and beyond safety that, we're bringing to taxpayers and to residents in the area.
More information on their website, romi.gov. That's romi.gov to learn more about the city of Royal Oak. We're joined by its mayor, Michael Fournier, on the Oakland County Megacast, on your family of TV, radio, and other media outlets to join us each and every day for this program, including your radio homes, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Mayor, another issue that arose recently in the news was a proposed pot facility that's just 88 feet away from the Oakland Schools Technical Campus Southeast in the Royal Oak area. They're asking for a public hearing to address this issue, try to find some common ground or some solutions to this issue of having a potential facility that close to a school facility. Can you touch on that issue a little bit and what the city's communications, both with Oakland Schools Technical Campus and with the owners of this particular property, have been thus far in trying to mitigate this issue?
Yeah, so a little bit of history. We've been sort of slow to implement, the voters' wish to have marijuana establishments in the city of Royal Oak. Voters overwhelmingly, like 70%, said, on the state ballot initiative that they wanted to legalize marijuana for retail, recreational establishments. We followed up with a survey, and, we said, okay, well, what did you mean by that, voters? And it was really clear, that they wanted these establishments. They preferred them to be in industrial zoned areas. And then we went to work writing our ordinances. So it's clear to everybody, the mayor and commission, we have been completely out of the application approval process. So we gave some overall criteria, for the city manager and his team to evaluate. We didn't want this to be a political process. We wanted this to be a process managed by public safety, by the city manager, planning, et cetera. So we went through that entire process. We put out zoning maps. We took in feedback from residents and constituents all over, and a map was put out, and an applicant came through, and I didn't know who the applicant was until a few weeks ago when the city manager published their recommendations. And I understand where everybody's coming from, but there are a lot of what I can say, because there's always litigation with marijuana. What I can say is that there's always nuances to everything, to zoning law, to definitions, to things like that. So the city is looking at that very carefully and making sure that we're trying to be fair to everybody that is affected. including the school, the petitioner. And we did have a public hearing at the Planning Commission, and this will be certainly brought to the table to the Royal Oak City Commission. I have to say, I mean, look, I'm not, I'm just the elected official. This isn't our full-time jobs and everything. Mm-hmm. I was hoping that, if Oakland schools had some issues, they would have contacted us and reached out to us earlier in the process. I have yet to be contacted by Oakland schools, but I'm open to hearing what their concerns are and to talk to them and have that dialogue. I've talked to our superintendent of Royal Oak Schools. We have a really good relationship. It's not that folks aren't being heard. I just think that when it comes to this legislation, it's new to everybody. It's really complicated. I think the folks that designed these bills from the state level, built in some complexities that quite frankly create a lot of issues. So I look forward to hearing what my fellow commissioners have to say, what the public has to say. And we're not, to be clear, the site plan is what's up for debate when it comes back to the city commission here in a month or so, or whenever it comes back. The applications were decided by staff.
We're joined by Michael Fournier, the mayor of the city of Royal Oak, joining us on the Megacast. Mayor, just another minute or so before we'll say goodbye. At this time, any other projects, initiatives, or other news from Royal Oak that residents of Royal Oak and those in the surrounding area should be aware of?
Yeah, we opened up our Centennial Commons Park, a beautiful park. We're eager to see all of our friends from Royal Oak and neighboring communities come down and enjoy it. For the next couple weeks, we have a skating rink right outside our farmers market coming off Winter Blast. We encourage everyone maybe come down, see a show, have some dinner, and, take the family out and skate under some lights and music. It's really a cool thing, and we hope that's a mainstay for years to come. And so, as we start to, pull out of COVID, remember the unique businesses we have here in Royal Oak, the small business owners that have stuck it through this pandemic, and come out and show your support. We got something really unique going on here in Royal Oak, and we just can't wait to see everybody back.
Mayor, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. Take care.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Welcome to the Michigan Megacast on your radio homes for the program 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. You can learn more about the Michigan Megacast by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link, where you'll find links to all of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets that join us every day, and find all of our full episodes and each individual interview on demand. civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Joining us now is the Executive Director of Figure Skating in Detroit, Lori Ward, is with us on the Megacast. Lori, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure.
Pleasure having you on with us. First off, can you tell us about the organization? Tell us about Figure Skating Detroit in Detroit and how this organization began.
Sure, yeah. So Figure Skating in Detroit is the only existing branch or chapter from Figure Skating in Harlem, which started 25 years ago, impacting girls of color. And it's more than just skating. It's actually an academic and leadership, girls empowerment program with figure skating. And so they brought the program here in 2016. We started our first program in 2017, enrolling girls ages 6 through 18. And we pride ourselves on and off the ice work with our girls to create the next leaders in the city of Detroit. So we're pretty proud.
So the goal isn't to develop Olympic level figure skaters or professional figure skaters out of these girls. It's to provide an activity or a set of activities and academic opportunities that enrich the learning of young people.
Yes, but I will say we do have a number of girls coming to us with experience, and some of our girls over the years, and this is year 5 for us, it's a celebratory year. Girls have grown and leveled out of the Learn to Skate basic programming and are ready for more experienced skating opportunities. So we provide that as well. So we're having synchro teams now and getting girls ready for competition. And if they want to go on and want to develop further to possibly become an Olympic hopeful, we want to make sure we cover that as well. So we cover a range of on ice activities and possibilities for our girls.
So what are some of these academic programs and opportunities that are provided? You met, obviously figure skating Detroit, the figure skating opportunities are a significant part of the program that you provide to these girls. What about the academic side? What sort of opportunities are there?
Sure. So off ice, twice a week during our after school program, which is called I Can Excel, we have our girls twice a week working on homework help. We do pre-post testing, tracking math and reading. Girls have to turn in their report cards. In fact, when they come to us wanting to enroll, they have to really be maintaining an A/B in their core curriculum courses. And if they're not, we want to provide help. So there's tutoring. There's enrichment courses that they rotate, such as financial literacy, there's STEM. There's even an arts piece where we make sure our girls are out experiencing, what's going on at the DIA, the museums with arts, and attending shows at the Opera House, such as Romeo and Juliet, the Dance Theater of Harlem, so that music and dance is in there. But yes, we're really making sure that they're building up the academic muscle and are ready for college and career. So we have a college career readiness piece that our high school girls really get involved in, because we want to make sure they have options for post-secondary. So the whole idea of being an entrepreneur, what does that mean? And so we get involved in workshops around that. Our health and fitness. So we have girls off ice fitness investment training where the girls are dancing. They have bar, it could be African dance, it's Zumba, it's yoga and meditation, kickboxing. So things to really make sure they're healthy and understand what that means, mind, body, and soul. And then the other 2 days during the after school program, they're on the ice. And so they're learning and developing, they're rehearsing for shows. We have 2 big shows during the program year, our winter skating show as well as our spring show. And then we have programming in the summer as well. It's called Summer Dreams. And so we're working with girls in that capacity. And then we have clinics throughout the year where we're able to reach girls. And I'm happy to announce this year we're starting a partnership with Detroit Public School Community Districts to provide skating clinics for both boys and girls, introducing, again, what has not been accessible in their community.
Just how important, or better yet, how much of an impact have you seen, and others that are working with figure skating in Detroit and other organizations that you partner with, how much of an impact on the educational enrichment and the development of these young girls and even the young boys that will soon be having access to these figure skating programs also, how much do these extracurricular opportunities that are taken for granted in so many communities and may not be available to those that are being provided this opportunity, how much of an impact do these have on their young lives?
So huge. The impact is huge because first, the statistics, you go back to the statistics telling us the combining academics with an athletic activity or sports has a lot to do with how well they can perform academically. So we pride ourselves in working with our girls as student athletes. So they're students first. So the impact can be huge. And that's through what we see them do in schools when it's time for their report cards and from what their parents share with us. And then the girls themselves, testimonials with how our impact has encouraged them to do better in math, has encouraged them to speak up, use their voice. So all of those things definitely contribute. And then in terms of impact, we were last year, we were featured in a docuseries, National Geographic, hosted by none other than Gal Gadot, the Wonder Woman, actress Wonder Woman, and being a part of that, being one of 6 women that were selected across the world. And we're selected because of our impact on girls, women and younger girls. And so that was a pretty huge, testimony to what we're doing and how our girls are soaring and growing as a result of being in our program. we look at them as champions on and off the ice.
We're joined by Lori Ward, the Executive Director of Figure Skating in Detroit, joining us on the Megacast. More information about the organization by visiting their website, figureskatingindetroit.org. That is figureskatingindetroit.org. Lori, these programs are extensive. They are providing great opportunities for girls in the Detroit area, and all of this effort, it takes a lot of work from a lot of people, but it also takes a significant financial investment as well. And so you have a fundraiser that's coming up. Your goal is to raise $20,000 to go toward academic programs, field trips, uniforms, equipment, ice time. It's going to happen this weekend, Saturday, March 5th, during the last weekend of skating down at the rink at Campus Martius in Detroit. Can you tell us about this event, what people can expect to experience there, and how their contributions will go to benefit girls in Detroit?
Oh, absolutely. So first and foremost, we are a nonprofit. And so we exist off of, grantors, our foundations and just really generous donor support. So this Saturday, March 5th, is our second annual Skating with the Stars. And we're so happy. And I definitely want to give a huge shout out to the Downtown Detroit Partnership, DDP, for allowing us to be able to use the beautiful ice at Campus Martius. As I stated, this will be year 2 for Skating with the Stars. And we're just so happy and grateful to Downtown Detroit Partnership for their partnership and belief in what we do. And so tickets can be purchased on Eventbrite. It's from 3 to 5:30. And what you can look forward to, gold medalist Meryl Davis will be there. She is our biggest cheerleader. She's on our board, and we just love her. She'll be there. Olympic hopeful Star Andrews will be there. We will have former Miss Teen Michigan, Anissa Sheikh, will be there, providing some musical entertainment. We'll be giving 2 awards. We call them our Trailblazer Awards. And this year's recipient is Kiko Davis, the only Black female bank owner in the United States, and Jared Swallow, who is just super helpful to us. He's a former managing director of Detroit Skating Club, which is also our partner skating rink. We skate there during our after-school program time as well as our summer dreams, and we love them. And so we will be awarding him as well with the Trailblazer Award. He's a once you're an Olympian, you're an Olympian. So he's an Olympic skater, participating in the Olympics, and we're just proud of that relationship. But there'll be cocoa, there'll be entertainment, there'll be speakers, and there'll be skating. And so this is the last weekend of the skating season. And so Campus Martius, presented by Visit Detroit, is making sure that we have a beautiful space. And if you haven't been down to Campus Martius, please come down this last weekend. It's just a beautiful, iconic rink. And we're just, again, so grateful and proud that we can be there to have our biggest fundraising event of the year.
More information on figureskatingindetroit.org. We're joined by Executive Director of Figure Skating in Detroit, Lori Ward, on the Megacast. Lori, Royal Oak native, ice dancer, multiple-time world champion, silver medalist Meryl Davis has been a huge part in figure skating in Detroit since the very beginning. Can you talk about her contributions and talk about what's meant to have somebody with that renowned connection to skating, but also with that sort of commitment to helping give back to the next generation of girls in our local area, and how that's helped not only in building figure skating in Detroit, but help these young girls as well, having that sort of a mentor near them?
Absolutely. And the buzzword, the most important word is commitment. She is definitely committed. So Meryl Davis ventured to help support figure skating in Harlem throughout the years. And once she heard word that they wanted to branch off, figure skating in Harlem looked at a number of cities. And largely because of her influence, because of Meryl's influence, they decided to take a look at Detroit. And what most people may not know is Michigan is a large skating town. People train here, Olympians and Olympian hopefuls come to Michigan to train. And so we have beautiful ice here. And so it was because of her influence why they ended up selecting Detroit. And again, we're the only existing chapter. And so she means the world to us. Her influence, her love and commitment to the girls. She is hands-on with the girls. She'll come and get on the ice with them. He will talk with them, motivate them, as a mentor, as you mentioned. And then she speaks to the world about us. She connects us with so many helpful resources to help us financially meet our budget goals, as well as resources for the girls to help them with those opportunities that I mentioned. So yes, she is definitely our biggest cheerleader and just a dynamic young lady.
We're joined by Lori Ward, the Executive Director of Figure Skating in Detroit, a nonprofit that you can learn more information about by visiting their website at figureskatingindetroit.org, where you can learn more information also about their upcoming event, 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Saturday, March 5th. That's this coming Saturday down at Campus Martius in downtown Detroit for Skating with the Stars. Their goal to raise $20,000 to support their programs throughout the remainder of this year. And so, Lori, we talk about Merrill Davis and her impact on figure skating in Detroit, but you don't have to be a multi-time world champion or an Olympic figure skater in order to contribute to a nonprofit organization like Figure Skating in Detroit. If there are people in Detroit or in surrounding areas that would like to get involved and would like to help you out, what are some ways that they can provide that help, either through volunteer opportunities or other methods to figure skating in Detroit?
Yep. So one easy step is going on our website, clicking donate, and every dollar counts, every dime counts. And so those types of donation helps us, as you mentioned earlier, skating equipment, because our girls that come to us, they don't have to pay for their skates and skating equipment and their uniforms and the beautiful show costumes. And so donating online is easy and is definitely appreciated. But also resources, ice time is expensive. We want to make sure people know that, any resources connected to ice time is definitely appreciated. And volunteering, we have a volunteer form on our website, and that's to volunteer on and off the ice. It takes a group, and I have a dynamic, wonderful group of teachers, tutors, I have a program director, skating director, coaches, our counselors that all make our program that's a year-round program run. And so if you want to get involved to volunteer, you can go to the website, complete that form. You'll always reach out to myself or any of our staff if you're interested. But yes, those resources and of time as well as talents is always appreciated.
That more information on volunteer opportunities with Figure Skating in Detroit on the website, figureskatingindetroit.org/volunteer. That's figureskatingindetroit.org/volunteer, or just go to their website. Top of the page, they have a Get Involved link. You scroll over that and you have a register, donate, volunteer, and we're hiring information there as well. Figureskatingindetroit.org. Lori, just another few minutes with you before we'll need to say goodbye today. Anything else at this time that would be important for our audience to know about figure skating in Detroit, or other ways they may be able to help in the future?
Yeah, so I just want to say again, year 5, we are growing. And in order to reach more girls, and that's our goal, our plan is to reach as many girls as we can. And with our partnership with Detroit Public Schools, being able to now provide clinics to introduce boys to skating that could lead them to hockey. And we have a partnership with Detroit PAL, who's running a great hockey program. So we just need help to help us as we grow. We're looking for coaches. We have our synchro team now, and as I mentioned, we're providing more experience skating levels for our girls who are at that point. And so we just need your support so we can keep growing. We're, again, busting out of the seams. We're looking for help, and we want to be able to provide all of our girls and the young men that we will be providing skating clinics with a first-class experience.
Lori, thank you so much for joining us and telling us more about this nonprofit organization.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Again, their event, Figure Skating in Detroit's Skating with the Stars event, this Saturday, March 5th, 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. during the final weekend of skating down at Campus Martius in downtown Detroit. You can learn more information by visiting their website at figureskatingindetroit.org, and also follow them on social media, on Facebook and on Twitter, on Girls on Ice Detroit. That's at Girls on Ice Detroit, and on Instagram, Figure Skating in Detroit. Again, their website, figureskatingindetroit.org. We're going to take a break. On the other side, there is a lot going on in the world, especially in the world of politics, and we need to figure out what this all means. where the context is in all these situations, where things may be going right here in Michigan and beyond. The perfect person for us to talk about that with is our favorite political science professor at Oakland University, Dave Dulio, who's also the director of their Center for Civic Engagement, encouraging civil conversations from those of all different political affiliations and finding creative solutions to complex political issues over at Oakland University. He'll join us next on the Megacast to talk about a number of different issues here domestically and across the world. That's all coming up. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Joining us now is a political science professor and the director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University. Once again, Dave Dulio with us on the Megacast. Dave, thank you for being with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you back. So let's start here locally in Michigan. Of course, Redistricting, that process is complete. The work of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission is, at this moment in time, all the way through. However, multiple lawsuits have already been filed by those on both sides of the aisle against the Redistricting Commission over their new maps, including recently a group of Republicans filed a lawsuit over the districts stating that, quote-unquote, communities of interest, including counties, cities, and townships, and that the commission arbitrarily split them up into separate districts in violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Can you give us some insight into both the argument behind this lawsuit from those on the Republican side of the aisle, what they're arguing was violated by the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, and whether or not this particular lawsuit has legs? We knew that the last lawsuit we saw that was from more Democratic-leaning leaders here in the state of Michigan did not have many legs behind it and go very far. What about this one?
Sure. I think whether or not it has legs is to be determined. The courts, and it's important to note that first lawsuit that you mentioned, filed by the Democrats, the Detroit caucus, that was in state court. The one that you're referencing now was filed in federal court. Right. And there's another component to it, and let's deal with that one before we get to the communities of interest piece. But the one that's in federal court, filed by a group of Republicans, has an issue about population equality at its core. And there is a long line of Supreme Court case law that says states have to try as best as they can, and this is using layman's terms, since I'm certainly no attorney. States have to do as best as they can. I think the phrase in the decisions is as nearly as practicable, have to get to population equality, so that one person's vote in one congressional district has the same power as another person's vote in another congressional district. And if population numbers are off by too much, that is the violation of the Equal Protection Clause. So, and as I said, the Supreme Court has held a very narrow interpretation of that. We'll have to see what the courts do in this one, whether or not the deviations in population from one congressional district to another are enough to get the maps overturned. The other component you mentioned is the violation of communities of interest and tacked onto their city, township, county lines. It's interesting, however, that there are a number of criteria in the constitutional amendment adopted to Michigan's Constitution in 2018 that brought about the Citizens Redistricting Commission. And these criteria are in order as to how the commission has to approach drawing the lines. And at the top of the list are things like the U.S. Constitution and federal law, things like the Voting Rights Act. And then come some new ones for us here in Michigan, including, in order, communities of interest, partisan fairness, and then a couple others that we'll skip over. And then at the bottom are existing political boundaries, the county, city, township borders that you mentioned. So it'll be interesting to see how the courts deal with this, given that communities of interest is high up on the list of things that the commission has to pay attention to when it's drawing lines. But those existing political boundaries are last on the list, right? So how does the court consider places like, Warren, for instance, Sterling Heights, that are split up into a number of different state house, state senate, and congressional districts? Oakland County is split up 5 or 6 different ways in the congressional map. So what is a community of interest to the courts? Does it overlap with things like county borders? We'll have to wait and see.
We're joined by Dave Dulio, professor of political science at Oakland University, also the director of its Center for Civic Engagement, joining us on the Megacast. Also on the topic of redistricting, we're seeing on both sides of the aisle as well some really interesting matchups coming up between candidates who are either going to be running in the same district as another candidate that was in a nearby district in the previous map drawing, or will be moving to different districts, or will be running in a different district here in the state of Michigan. What's really interesting at the federal level, U.S. House of Representatives race here in the 11th district between Andy Levin and Haley Stevens, with Representative Stevens saying that Representative Levin running in that district is abandoning his current constituents. Can you talk a little bit on that issue and why we're seeing, or maybe what might be the justification politically or just overall for Andy Levin to be running in this district instead of moving into another district and running in that district, or same thing for Representative Stevens, and why this clash seems to be so powerful here in Oakland County?
Sure. I think that there are a number of factors, but at the start, I think let's acknowledge that it's early in this process, early in this primary, and the gloves are starting to come off between Representative Stevens and Representative Levin, and I'm sure that they will have a not a fierce, but a spirited primary battle to see who is going to move on to the general election in the new 11th. Why Representative Levin is running in the 11th rather than the Macomb County centric district, the 10th, that's a question for him. But let's be clear about it, right? There's no rule in Michigan that says you have to live in the district that you want to represent. That is something that candidates have done for years and years and years, not lived in the district that they are that they want to represent. I think so. There's that, and in fact, Representative Levin lives in Oakland County, not Macomb County, so you could say it's more of a homecoming for him. I also think that there are political calculations. The district that is Macomb centric, where John James is going to run. He's already announced that. We're waiting for the Democrats to sort that out. And it appears there's potential that a newly retired judge, Carl Merlinga, might run on the Democratic side there. That would set up an interesting race. But that's a Republican-leaning district, probably by 4 or 5 points. The 11th is a Democratic-leaning district, probably double-digit points, right? I mean, so it's a much friendlier district for Democrats, but it's, as I said before, it's also a bit of a homecoming for Rep. Levin. If he does win here, he would represent his home county.
We're joined by Dave Dulio, professor of political science at Oakland University and the director for its Center for Civic Engagement. Dave, this week, the president will be making his first State of the Union address. We've heard, of course, in the last couple of days that that address has been shifted in large part to be focusing on the crisis in Ukraine and its effect on national politics and world politics. As we're seeing, of course, sanctions have been put on both the Russian government and oligarchs that are connected to Vladimir Putin, on Vladimir Putin himself. Those only go so far, but those also affect the world economy at a time when inflation is high, gas prices continue to rise and are affecting the pocket of everyday Americans. And of course, those sanctions also heavily going to affect the pockets, and already are, of everyday Russians, those that may disagree with the actions of their president. How critical for President Biden's future, given that his approval ratings are already at such a low spot right now, is this State of the Union setting the tone for going forward, given the crisis that's ongoing in Ukraine?
Yeah, Tyler, I think that this is arguably the most important speech of Biden's political life. Yeah. You look at the litany of issues that are confronting the United States. You mentioned inflation, the economy in general, gas prices. You've got COVID hasn't gone anywhere, right? I mean, maybe we're coming out of the pandemic and moving into endemic, but it's still there, right? You've got a new Supreme Court nomination that just was made, and the confirmation process is going to heat up. You've got sinking approval ratings, as you mentioned, for President Biden. He's barely above 40%. In fact, he's right about where President Trump was after a year in office in 2017. You've got a country that is deeply polarized, deeply split. Layer on top of that Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It's an election year, right? And an election year in which all signs point to Democratic candidates taking a beating at the ballot box. This is a critical point in time for the country, for Joe Biden's presidency, with all of that taken into account.
We're joined by Dave Dulio, professor of political science at Oakland University, joining us on the Megacast. Dave, I want to give you a few minutes before we do let you go to talk about anything that may be coming up at the Center for Civic Engagement. Of course, always great discussions going on over there, but between those of all different political affiliations on a number of different issues. Can you give us a preview of what's coming up?
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. We've got all sorts of stuff happening this month. Three things in particular. One, you had a colleague of mine on just prior, Paul Kubicek, talking about Russia and Ukraine. We're going to include Paul as well as a couple other colleagues from the political science department to talk about crisis in Ukraine. On March 10th, at noon, we're going to have a virtual session where we call it office hours, where we feature and highlight faculty experts. So Paul Kubicek, Pete Trumbore, and Christian Cantier are going to talk about U.S. foreign policy, international conflict, the crisis in Ukraine, really, and where it's been, where it might go. We're also going to welcome two Ukrainian faculty members to participate in that, one from biology and one from art and art history. So folks can tune in for that. A couple of weeks later, we're going to circle back and talk about domestic politics. And then on the 29th of March, we're going to host in person two former U.S. ambassadors, Ambassador David Fisher and Ambassador John Rakolta. Ambassador Fisher was in Morocco and Ambassador Rakolta in United Arab Emirates. They're going to come and talk about the Abraham Accords, which are the historic peace agreements between some Arab countries and Israel that were brokered by the United States in 2020. So they're going to come and talk about the Abraham Accords and the possibilities for peace in the Middle East. Those are going to be, as I said, in person, but you can also join virtually. It'll be a hybrid event, March 29th, 7 p.m. And if folks can't find the information on our website, they can email me directly. Happy to point folks in the right direction for any and all of those.
Dave, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Todd.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation. Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just
evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
now is the Executive Director of the Siena Literacy Center, Sister Janice Brown, with us on the Megacast. Sister Janice Brown, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, tell us a little more about the Siena Literacy Center.
Well, Siena Literacy Center is an adult education program here in the northwest side of Detroit. It was founded in 1995 by an Adrian Dominican. I'm an Adrian Dominican sister. It was during a time when there was a very high dropout rate, high school dropout rate, and the Adrian Dominicans were known for their education, and they wanted to do something about that and thought they'd open up a GED program. And when they got into it a little bit deeper and did a needs analysis, it was discovered that the foundational skills weren't there for someone to be successful in going through a GED or high school completion. So from there, we've taken off offering the development of foundational skills, and it's evolved to being not only reading and math and English language acquisition, but also skill development such as problem solving, work readiness, those types of things.
And so, Sister Janice, have you noticed that over the course of the pandemic that the need for these kinds of services has increased?
It has. In the Detroit metro area, there's approximately about 90,000 people that don't have a high school diploma. And of course, you know, there's a correlation between your level of education and the type of job you can get. Mm-hmm. And so, so there has been, and especially during this time, there's been so few choices. And as we move into a new economy, so to speak, being ready for that is more important than it ever was before.
We're joined by Sister Janice Brown, the Executive Director of the Siena Literacy Center, joining us on the Megacast as one of almost 300 Share Detroit supported charities and nonprofits. More information on sharedetroit.org. And so, what are some of there are many programs through the Literacy Center that will help these individuals that may need the assistance that you provide? What are some of those programs, and how can people get involved?
Well, Siena has a special niche, and that is that we offer one-to-one tutoring. Though we also will do small group instruction class and online training. Technology is such a big component of our everyday living. Those are all important, but uniquely, when it's those foundational skills, to have one-to-one tutoring is really important. So if a person wanted to get involved, we are always in need of volunteer tutors. Right now, we have 25 people on our waiting list to start working with somebody else.
We're joined by Sister Janice Brown, the Executive Director of Siena Literacy Center, on the Megacast. More information on their website also at sienaliteracy.org. And so when you're looking for volunteers to provide those tutoring services, what are some of the requirements for those tutors to end up being affiliated with your organization? And then what is the process then of them being ultimately brought into the program to provide those services?
Sure. A passion for reading and wanting to walk with someone through this process. How someone gets involved is they can either give us a call. We have connections with Volunteer Match, or go to our website and sign up. And Katie will give you a call, and she'll do some initial orientation with you. And we will have you do some training so that you are familiar with the material we have, and some information on what is necessary when you're teaching adults. Adults are much different than children when it comes to learning, being motivated, and the material, again, is foundational, but it is geared towards adults. once they get started, we would match them up. Once they get their training in, we'd match them up with someone, and then there'd be support. Our staff team works together with you so that you're never left out there on your own. We have qualified individuals who will give you some help. Maybe the learner is stuck. What kind of goals do we need to meet? Maybe there's a big goal, but we really have to break that up into chunks so that we're looking at achieving incremental goals in order to reach that big goal.
We're joined by Sister Janice Brown, the Executive Director of the Siena Literacy Center, joining us on the Megacast. More information on their website, sienaliteracy.org. That's sienaliteracy.org. Or by calling 313-532-8404. That's 313-532-8404. And so, Sister Janice, are these programs all still virtual because of the pandemic? Are they in person? Is there a combination of the two? What is available in terms of the proximity that individuals will need to be to their instructors and to those providing them help?
There's a combination of the two. We still have, when the pandemic came on, we were 100% remote. But for some, that was difficult. So as soon as we could, we did start doing both. So we do have on-site tutoring as well as remote, and so it's a choice you can make. We can use you in either mode.
So you're the Executive Director of the Siena Literacy Center. How did you get involved with the organization? What led you to the Siena Literacy Center?
Well, I've been in adult education since 2005, and originally I was the Executive Director for our sister adult education program, Dominican Literacy Center. And Siena needed a new director, and so they reached out, and because of my history with adult education, I stepped in. But it's also a passion. It's so important. There's so many reasons why a person maybe doesn't finish their high school equivalency, or a lot of times they've struggled in high school, maybe with a learning disability, and it's not really addressed during that time. Or maybe there were choices made. Another possibility is someone's coming to the United States from another country. There's a lot of reasons why those foundational skills need to be developed. And what education does is help create equity so that doors can open, so a person has the skills necessary to build themselves up and live into their potential. And quite honestly, it's not only for the individual, it helps their family. If they're able to get a family sustaining job, it works for them, for their family. And statistically, they also tend to get more involved in community, and they're paying back in community with higher wages, doing volunteering civically. It's a win-win all around when you have an adult that lives into their potential.
More information on their website, sienaliteracy.org. That's SIENA literacy.org, or by visiting sharedetroit.org, where they are one of 280 at this time. Charities and nonprofits supported by Share Detroit. Sister Janice Brown, the Executive Director, is with us on the Megacast. Sister Janice, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Sister Janice Brown for joining us, as well as all of our other guests on today's edition of the Megacast. Dave Dulio from Oakland University, Lori Ward, the Executive Director of Figure Skating in Detroit, Michael Fournier, the Mayor of Royal Oak, and Carrie Krawiec, a therapist from Birmingham Maple Clinic. You can learn more information about the Megacast and find all these interviews and our full episodes on demand on civiccentertv.com by clicking on our Megacast link. And go to our coronavirus link as well for up-to-date information on COVID-19. from the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division's COVID-19 specific web pages. Big thank you to our crew on today's edition of the program. Calvin Brown, our technical director and studio operator, with me each and every show for 2 hours here in our studios in West Bloomfield. Jared Clark out at the office of My Michigan TV in Troy, our Zoom producer on today's edition of the program. The king of television, Larry Nyland, our producer, helping get everybody booked and ready for each and every one of these Megacast programs. And Maddie Mushkin out at Master Control as well. We got a lot of great original programming coming up following the Michigan Megacast on My Michigan TV. Coming up next, it's Steve Leto live from noon to 1, and then 1 to 2, it's Larry and Maddie live. We will return tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. with the Megacast.